Let's go to the wild card. It is Tom's. We got 7 minutes. Tom, what you got for us this week?
Okay, I'm going to put this as TJ is in the ACC, and we have Cole in the SEC.
Thanks for the reminder.
Those are your favorite schools.
Beautiful.
You have to pick 3 head coaching hires that you would like to erase from history within your conference. I'm just curious to hear what you guys think, kind of going off of the Scott Frost hire. I could jump to one at Florida State that really rings a bell, and it's not even the guy who's there right now. But very curious of one. It could be entirely for emotional reasons, performance reasons. But I'll start with Cole. Who is one head coaching hire within the SEC that you would have liked to erase from history?
Okay, and this is the reason I go with it. It's really dumb, but I think it also works because his record stunk there. Derek Dooley at Tennessee. Number one, Dooley at Tennessee was just an underwhelming hire to begin with, especially when you look at the pedigree of having Philip Fulmer, and then you bring in Lane Kiffin, and you think that Kiffin is going to be the savior. He eventually goes and leaves in the middle of the night for Los Angeles. They burn mattresses outside of Neyland. But not only was he an underwhelming coach, he didn't have that intimidation factor that I think a lot of people wanted for a program that still at this time was supposed to be viewed as one of the higher tier pedigrees in college athletics. But the other thing was he wore the dumb orange pants on the sidelines every single week. Just those orange pants stuck out like a sore thumb. You have terrible fashion sense. You have terrible X's and O's communication. What do you provide for a program that has some of the best fans in college football? I'm sorry, Derek Dooley, you got to go with those orange pants.
TJ, ACC.
Yeah, I mean, it's Taggart, for the personal interest, like that. It's so obvious that, I think that's probably goes without saying. He was just very disorganized. I know that Florida State, for whatever reason, really honed in on him. And just everything he did was just a mess. We had recruits standing outside of the Moore Center, the athletic facilities there, for hours, just not being able to get in because people weren't showing up, and it was just it was a mess. What you saw on the field was equally as bad, obviously, but behind the scenes, it was terrible. And Jimbo. The way that Jimbo left wasn't great, but there was still a lot of talent on the team, and it made Mike Norvell's job that much harder. Now I'm not excusing Mike Norvell's faults or anything, but it made Mike Norvell's job that much harder to have to take over after a year and a half of Taggart being on campus. So yeah, it was probably the easiest one.
Cole, quickly
of all time.
See, all time is where it gets challenging. I'm still just focusing on the last 20 years, but I'll tell you what. Chad Morris is single-handedly the worst hire I've ever seen in the history of the SEC. Chad Morris had an underwhelming record when he was at SMU, 14-22. He led his team to a bowl game for the first time in I think it was 7 or 8 years, then goes to Arkansas. At Arkansas, proceeds to go 4-18, never winning a conference game before they eventually let him go, and he doesn't even get to finish the season. You have got to be a bad program to not only have 0 conference wins, but also to have only 2 wins per year in back-to-back seasons. It was a dreadful hire from the get-go. He was brought up from the high school level and then brought over to Clemson. Never really found his footing in SMU. Never really found his footing in Arkansas. Just a dark, dark day in Fayetteville.
TJ?
I'm going to throw a curveball here and say Dabo Swinney. And this is just from my perspective. This is not obviously that was a great hire that took some time to materialize, right? At the time we were like, yeah, this is great. He stinks. Couldn't get out of his own way, really struggled. But they gave him time. He turned it around. And so from the Florida State perspective, that was a terrible hire because he's been great and caused us a lot of sadness. So I don't know if that's really the angle that you were asking for, but yeah, in my perspective, that was a terrible hire because it sucks for us that he built Clemson into obviously a power. So, yeah, that was a really bad one.
Cole, SEC, last one.
I mean, it's only fair and it sucks, but what else am I going to say? I'm sorry, man. I got to do this to you, and don't be pissy. Just get over it. It's Brian Harsin. Brian Harsin had no ties whatsoever to the SEC. He had no ties to a Power 4 job. He went into Auburn because they didn't know what direction they wanted to go after firing Gus Malzahn. He proceeded to disagree with everything that was going on with the boosters, so much so that the boosters found ways to try to fire him after one season by blackmailing him. It was evident that they did not want him out there anymore, and it was evident in the first year of the Hugh Freeze era, the stench of the Harsin experiments was still residing on the Plains, which has given Freeze, I think, a little bit of leeway because he had to completely rebuild the program, but it was a dead on arrival hire. I remember talking to a couple people at Auburn asking, who the bleep is this guy to begin with? When you have fans not knowing who your head coach is, you've already failed at making the hire.
TJ, last one, take us home.
Yeah, I mean, I think going opposite, like not Florida State related, the Manny Diaz hire by Miami was pretty terrible. The way they had to buy him out from Temple after being there for, I think, less than a week. They were in a tough spot because Rick retired. I get it, but man, that was just such a terrible hire. There's chatter because he's an FSU alum of like, oh, if Mike doesn't make it and he has another good year at Duke, could they bring Manny in? I don't know if I could. Now he might be a good coach and he might turn them around. He understands how to recruit, things like that. Good defensively. And I do think that I don't know that I could take the Twitter trolls of everything that I've said if we end up hiring Manny Diaz. So yeah, I think that was a really bad hire for Miami, but I like where Manny is right now. Like all that aside, like the jokes and the Twitter stuff aside, I think Manny's doing a good job. Obviously did a good job up there with you guys. I think he's doing a good job at Duke. It's been nice to see him rebound because he really got thrown into an impossible situation. And I don't think Miami cared about athletics the way they should have back when they hired him. They obviously do now with, breaking the bank for Cristobal, putting a good staff around him, investing heavily in NIL, getting their baseball team to they were one win away from Omaha this year. Their basketball team made the Final Four a couple of years ago. They made a good hire in Jai Lucas from Duke. I do think they care about athletics now. If they would have cared back then, they would have just brought Mario home at that time or gone in a different direction. The Manny Diaz hire was reeked of desperation and was a terrible hire for Miami. And this isn't even me trolling. Like they would all agree with that. They would all say, yeah, that was awful.
There you have it.
I was going to go the other direction if I got to do any of the SEC ones, and I was going to say Urban for the same reasons that I said. That was an awful one for me.